Yeah, how the heck would a 50-year work? That
Yeah,
is you're you're not creating debt. You're always paying down principal over time. It's just
yeah,
taking a lot longer. And then when you kind of look at on a 30-year mortgage, you're paying a lot of interest over the time, but it's manageable because you are whittling down debt
yeah.
as well. But 50-year, that's almost like buying your forever home, it feels like. And I know that's not the case, but you're going to build equity a lot slower. But have you done the math to that? Does
Yeah.
that bring down the payment very much
No.
going
So
over 50 years?
so let's talk about that. So look, devil's advocate here, what I'm going to say is, like you just said, I'm not in my first home. I'm in my fourth or fifth home, right? So when they try to sell you on, oh my gosh, look at how much more interest you pay. For instance, on a 300, when I ran the math, on a $300,000 loan, on 30 years at a 6.3 interest rate, your total payback's right at like 370 grand. Okay? On a 50-year, your total payback's going to be right at 755,000. So it's 380 something grand. Now, that number doesn't bother me because I don't know many people, and I'm sure folks listening, who sit in their home for 30 years and never refinance. So that is not a big number. What I'm wanting to share is, and what I was looking at, to me, and it was sort of because as soon as I heard it, I'm like, oh man, let's go see. This is going to be great. Well, a 15-year note doesn't have the same rate as a 30-year. So to think that a 50-year note rate is going to be the same as a 30, it's not. And we're already so if we just use kind of the difference, a 0.5%, Gregory, on that same $300,000 home going out to 50 years from 30, it's $102 a month. So if you're buying a house with mortgage gumbo and your ratio's at 35%, you're not going to take, hey, do you want a 0.5% higher rate to save $100 a month? You're not going to do that. What everybody wants lower. When times are good, people want lower. When times are bad, they want lower, right? So my thing when we're looking at that is that $100 difference there, to me, I was a little bit, I knew it wasn't going to be what everybody thought it was going to be, but that is not, so who is going to get those homes, Gregory? It's going back to what we were talking about earlier. The person that's going to get that home is the person who, if $100 is a difference of getting in a home or not, you're going to be struggling, right? If you got to go out to 50 years because you need to save $100 to be able to get into that house, you're probably buying too much house, and you're pushing your budget. And we have people that do it, and it's my job to say yes, but that's what I think a lot of folks need to understand on this 50-year. Don't get caught. Who cares about the interest? You're going to refinance, blah, blah, blah. But
Yeah,
it's not going to
yeah.
be this big earth-shattering number where, all right, yeah, put me on a 50-year. It's going to save me $400 a month. So if you make the same payment on your 50-year as you get on your 30, right, it's a difference. That same $300,000, you pick up 20 grand. So you're not moving from the outhouse to St. Charles Avenue. It's $20,000. So that is why, again, it sounds good on TV. I like hey, we're thinking outside the box, right, Gregory? You and I like that. Let's have a conversation. I'm good with that. But it's not the answer. Is it going to help? Maybe some folks. But is it something where that person, like I said, who's going to be, they budget conscious anyway, and they're going with the philosophy we talked about earlier, what I can afford, what I'm willing to pay is two different things? Or are they going to take a higher rate just so they can add 20 years to their mortgage for $100? I don't think they are. I just don't.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Whether it's a 30 or 50 or 100-year mortgage, I just throw this ridiculous stuff out there.
Yeah.
You're not locked in to that payment because you can always pay more. My first one was a 30-year.
Yep.
And I think I paid what the plan was, and then I eventually sold that for quite a bit of profit. A number of years later, I picked up another property where I bought some land, built a house, but actually I did a 20-year, and the interest rate is great. And I started paying, and I would pay more on it, and I've paid it down quite a bit. It's going to be paid off in less than 20 years because of paying more. But
Yep.
kind of at this point, I really don't throw extra at it. Why?
Right.
It's not going to it's going to be paid off before it was originally set up as it is now, but I'm not throwing extra money at it anymore. Why? It's a low interest rate. I'm like, I can get better use out of that 4% money elsewhere. I've
Absolutely.
got another property that you helped me own,
Yep.
30-year
Yeah.
mortgage, and I don't know that I'm throwing anything at it because I'm fine with where it's at. It doesn't press me. I don't mind the debt. I could pay the darn thing off. I
Right.
could accelerate it. And then I picked up another property with it's amortized, configures the payment over 30 years, and you might would explain this better, but essentially it's a 5-year with a balloon note
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And why would I have done something like that 20 years ago? Heck no. And your thinking evolves over time, but I go back to what did I do originally? Heck, I was doing whatever I could to get into a home and did a 30-year mortgage, and I actually got bought that and got it financed, getting it through an auction back
Yeah.
then. And
Yeah.
that turned out to how that started leveraging me to, to the next property, because I was building up equity. And that's life changing. And then, and look at me, I 30 years ago I would never imagine, like, why would I do that? And I'm
Yeah.
not going to put a number out here, but I can tell you 20 years ago it's like, oh my gosh, I would never buy something that costs that much.
Right. Right.
And then things changed. That Gregory wouldn't, but this
That's right.
Gregory doesn't mind spending that because he can and knows how the value keeps going up. And that's that mindset. And I just wish the younger Gregory put more away in the stock market
Yeah. But here's
and
the thing
and
too. That
savings and stocks and bonds and stuff like that. I wish that Gregory did more, but that Gregory evolved as well.
but here's the thing. Younger Gregory bought that first house based on budget,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, today's day, and you want to know why the median, all the ages are going up, everybody's basing everything on the number on a piece of paper, which is an interest rate.
And that
And,
doesn't matter,
and it doesn't
actually.
matter.
It
And
doesn't.
that's the biggest thing, right? So you just kind of summed it up. Young Gregory versus today's Gregory. Young Gregory did everything on a budget, and those moves allowed today's Gregory to be able to do some other investments with some unique programs to build wealth in different areas, right? So, and to be able to go, hey, yeah, you know what? I can do that type of loan because young Gregory did budget. Today, everybody's chasing a number. Nobody calls and goes, hey, can you tell me what my affordability is? Every call is, hey, what are your rates? Don't know anything, don't know down payment. What are your rates? And that is the problem. I get it. Who doesn't want a low rate? But it's young Gregory, young Dwayne. It was based on budget. Here's what I can afford, not the number on a piece of paper. How do we get there? Obviously. And that's, I think, the difference. So now everybody's wanting to go, well, I need these rates. I need these rates. I need these rates. Gregory, every house that's being bought right now with us, every appraisal's coming back more than the sales price. Every single one. So that even tells you in this environment right now, and for that to happen means homes are selling at, above what they're even asking. So the money is there, the wealth is there. It's proven, right? There's some, turds in a punch bowl, so to speak, but for the most part, you're going to win in real estate. And I think that's the greatest thing that you just said is young Gregory. You can't look at – that's why sometimes, and I get moms and dads on the phones and aunts and uncles and grandmas and grandpas and have to explain to them you can't give young Gregory today's Gregory advice, right? Because it's different. It's not a 20% where it's budgetary. So let's look at things differently on how to work in their world. Unless you're going to pay their note for them, then we listen to whatever they got to say. If it's bank of mom and dad, heck yeah, let's roll. You know what I'm saying? Whatever bank of mom and dad's giving you 50%, let's rock. Greatest thing ever. But if it's you, we got to look at how do we maintain that budget and how do we keep you with money for those next down the road, for those other expenses in the future.